Long ago, cartographers drew the bounds of a legendary land, a subcontinent of immense riches and ancient mysteries.
By 1889, Allahabad had become a pivotal center. It was a hub of administration and culture. Here, the morning mist blankets a world of rapid change.
May the stars guide your path, little one.
He will bring honor to our family.
In the behrestful atmosphere of an elite Indian home, young Jawaharlal Nehru received a world-class education.
Modern India is a colossal, secular democracy, holding together over 1 billion people. In the early 20th century, the idea that this fractured subcontinent could govern itself as a single, stable republic seemed mathematically impossible to the British Empire. The engineering of this democratic experiment was led by Jawaharlal Nehru, a man whose life was built on a series of sharp contradictions. Born in Allahabad in 1889, Nehru was the firstborn of a self-made barrister of immense wealth. He grew up in the mansion Anand Bhavan, an atmosphere of extreme privilege, where he was educated at home by private tutors. His grooming continued in England, first at Harrow School and later at Trinity College, Cambridge. He moved through the inner circles of the British academic elite, graduating with honors in natural science before being called to the bar. By 1912, Nehru was exactly what the colonial system intended to produce, an anglicized elite lawyer who was culturally and socially positioned to uphold the British administration in India. Upon returning home, Nehru was expected to inherit his father's lucrative legal practice, which brought in a monthly income exceeding 10,000 rupees. However, he found neither the practice of law nor the company of lawyers particularly compelling. During his time in Europe, he had begun absorbing the social critiques of the Fabian Society and Marxist economics. These frameworks provided an alternative to the colonial status quo and gradually replaced the rigid outlook of the British legal system in his mind. The turning point arrived in 1919, when British troops fired into a peaceful crowd at Jallianwala Bagh, killing hundreds. This violence stripped away any remaining interest Nehru had in constitutional reform within the existing system. In the wake of the massacre, he met Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi's program of mass civil disobedience provided Nehru with a direct method to challenge the state, leading his wealthy father to eventually join him in accepting Gandhi's leadership. By the end of 1919, the wealthy, apathetic barrister had effectively disappeared. He was replaced by a radical activist who was now willing to abandon his inherited status to lead a movement for total independence. During the 1920s, Nehru moved quickly through the ranks of the Indian National Congress, eventually serving as the mayor of Allahabad and the party's general secretary. He clashed with moderate leaders over the future of the movement. While others were willing to negotiate for dominion status under the British Crown, Nehru argued that only a complete separation from the empire could ensure true growth. His persistence paid off at the 1929 Lahore session. With Gandhi's support, Nehru assumed the presidency of the Congress and successfully introduced a resolution calling for nothing less than total freedom. At midnight on New Year's Eve 1929, Nehru hoisted the tricolor flag of India on the banks of the Ravi. He read out a declaration stating that the British government had ruined India economically and culturally, making it an inalienable right of the people to abolish it. The Lahore Declaration forced a total shift in the movement's objectives. By defining the goal as Purna Swaraj, or complete independence, the Congress abandoned incremental reform within the empire, committing instead to a total exit. That commitment came with a severe personal cost. Between 1921 and 1945, Nehru was arrested 8 times, spending 9 years in total in British prisons. From his cell, he produced thousands of pages of text, including a sprawling history of the subcontinent. By weaving together the varied threads of India's religious and cultural past into a single narrative, he provided a diverse population with a shared historical vocabulary to carry into independence. When independence finally arrived in August 1947, it was accompanied by the violent partition of the country. The resulting communal bloodshed displaced millions, turning a moment of victory into a humanitarian crisis. Nehru assumed the role of Prime Minister, delivering his Tryst with Destiny speech as the new flag was raised at the Red Fort. He now faced the task of leading a population that looked to him to restore order to a fractured nation. The radical agitator who had spent his life attempting to dismantle a state was now the person responsible for building one from the ashes of the colonial administration. To address deep-seated poverty, Nehru implemented a mixed economy. This strategy combined public sector control over key industries with room for private enterprise. He prioritized heavy industry, directing massive government investment into steel, iron, coal, and power. He believed these sectors were the only viable path toward the modernization of the Indian economy. To prevent further religious conflict, he insisted on a secular nation-state. He worked to increase the representation of minorities in government, aiming to build a national identity that transcended religious divisions. He also led a radical revision of Hindu marriage and property laws. These bills were designed to grant Hindu women equitable entitlements as legal subjects, providing them with property rights for the first time. Through these policies, Nehru created a social and economic framework that sought to impose stability and equality onto a country struggling with the legacies of colonial rule. In foreign affairs, Nehru navigated the pressures of the Cold War. Both the United States and the Soviet Union sought to bring newly independent nations into their respective ideological blocs. Nehru refused to join either side. Instead, he co-founded the Non-Aligned Movement, positioning India as a leader among emerging nations that chose to remain neutral in the superpower conflict. He served as Prime Minister for 16 years, placing a heavy emphasis on education and the welfare of young people. This focus is still reflected today in India, where his birthday is observed as Children's Day. When Nehru died in 1964, he had won 3 consecutive national elections. The democratic institutions he had reinforced were robust enough to manage the transition of power without a crisis. Nehru's career illustrates a rare political transformation. He successfully transitioned from a revolutionary protester into the chief engineer of a modern state, providing the architecture for a stable, sovereign democracy.